Hello and welcome to the CX Files podcast. I'm your host, Mark Hillary. This week I'm speaking with Vit Horky, the co-founder and CEO of Brand Embassy. Brand Embassy is a global company headquartered in Prague in the Czech Republic, and they're focused on helping companies to make the move to digital customer service. They've got both products and services available, so they're more than just a consulting firm, but they're also not just a software firm either. About 6 weeks ago, Vit published a book titled Customer Service in the Transhuman Age. I called him and we talked about the new book and where CX is heading in 2019 and beyond. Okay, Vit, thank you very much for taking the call. Now, I know that in November last year, very recently, your new book came out, which is called Customer Service in the Transhuman Age. I've had a look at the book. I haven't read all of it entirely, but I've had a chance to skip through and read it quickly. And one thing I can say is that it's got some fantastic photos. I don't know how you licensed all those pictures because it looks really beautiful. Now, I wanted to ask you, though, that title, The Transhuman Age, in the introduction to your book, you're talking a bit about the development from IVRs to the internet to omni-channel and how customer service is evolving. But what is it that you specifically mean by moving into a transhuman age?
Thank you, Mark, for the invitation to the podcast. So the transhuman age is pretty much describing an era in the upcoming future where computers will have the same or higher general intelligence as human beings like yourself or myself, and what this will mean actually for the future of work or for the future of lives of all of us. And in the book that I just published, it is focusing on the customer service industry where I'm coming from, and what kind of impact these new technologies and super intelligent technologies, AI, etc., will have on the rather traditional call center and contact center industry.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're looking far into the future and how artificial intelligence may well start changing companies then.
What I'm saying is that it already does. And in many ways, us customers or technologists are not even realizing that artificial intelligence, machine learning, etc., is already changing our industry. Is already changing how consumers are using their cell phones, etc. And so a lot of the stuff that might sound crazy are actually achievable and can do some real good and real value already today. However, what we will see in the upcoming decades is much larger impact and value coming out of it. Also, it is, however, connected to some of the threats that might be associated by harmful usage of artificial intelligence or technology as such.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, you've talked about companies that are breaking from the past. So there are some companies that are moving forward and understanding how they can use these kind of technologies, but there's also going to be some companies, especially in the service sector, that don't survive. Could you explain what you mean and who you think is gonna fall by the wayside then?
Sure. Look, we've been working in Brand Embassy with a number of large Fortune 500 companies. Some of them are coming, or most of them are coming from rather traditional industries like mobile operators or banks. What they see over the past 10, 20 years is that the traditional acquisition channels like TV ads or traditional sales techniques are not working anymore so much as they were before. So they are looking for new ways how to engage with the customers, how to acquire more customers. And what I'm saying in the book is that customer service is a great opportunity actually for customers not only to keep their customers happy and to keep them spending their money, but actually how to acquire customers. But in order to be really great in using customer service as a sales channel, you need to apply an omnichannel experience. You need to apply all the possible channels and technologies that consumers themselves are already used to be using every day. And many companies are struggling already in adapting to this rather quick change that is happening on the market, and more companies will struggle even in the future.
And you mentioned cell phone companies there, and typically, I think if you ask most consumers today, they would generally not be satisfied with the customer service they get from their phone company. So, do you think that in the coming years or decades, we're going to see many of those big brands we know just disappear?
It is definitely possible, and a lot of the stuff can be can be changed already by already available technologies. Just yesterday, I had spoken with one of the CEOs of large consumer finance companies operating in China, and he mentioned that by implementing a chatbot for their messaging and live chat, they were able to actually essentially lay off 30,000 contact center employees. By keeping the same standard of the service, by keeping the same quality and of the service and customer satisfaction. So these kind of new technologies can fundamentally change how the companies operate. And some of the companies that will not be able to adapt, they might become, not profitable anymore and essentially having existential problems.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's interesting because you mentioned there about a replacement of people and jobs with technology and
Absolutely.
like AI and robotic automation. What do you think then? I mean, I suppose it's worth asking the question in two ways. You mentioned there about contact center employees being replaced by automation. To what extent do you think that's going to happen? And also, how is that going to affect the wider society and people and their jobs in general?
I'm an optimist in nature, so I believe that there is a bright future for humans in the future of work and in customer service in particular. I see that as an irreplaceable role of humans in customer service that is related to our unique ability of emotional intelligence, to our unique ability of dealing with complex issues by using intuition, etc. However, when you go to a typical call center today and you see what the customer service agents are doing, you see that maybe 60 or 70% of their job day to day is filling out forms, is searching for data in endless spreadsheets, typing data into one interface, then to another, etc., etc. It's not efficient, and even today, it can be already replaced to a large extent by computer automation. So what I believe is very important is that the companies will realize what is the part of the customer service activities that can be, productively replaced step by step in agile way by computer automation. So the humans of the companies can actually focus on more meaningful activities, or activities that give them higher job satisfaction, but that essentially also leads to higher customer satisfaction.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it could also be seen as augmenting the humans that remain as well, I guess.
Absolutely. So, for example, in the computer automation within customer services, we're focusing on two, let's say, use cases. The most general use cases. One are chatbots. Chatbots that can be theoretically replacing customer service agents. But if you have seen any chatbots out there on the market, almost none of them is able to really have a great conversation with a customer and to really help them with their complex issues. Mm-hmm. More often, we see chatbots that can either deal with very basic requests, and they can do it even better and faster than human agents, or they can actually augment the customer service agents by helping them collect data with the customers, asking them, how satisfied they were with the service, etc. So it's more like complementing the abilities of the customer service agents with a robot that can be much faster and much more efficient when it comes to rather more basic issues. Mm-hmm. And the second use case is related to something that we call intelligent advisors. So a robot that is superpowering the customer service agents to do more. So perhaps replies, suggesting responses, searching for information, analyzing already existing information in the knowledge bases, and preparing everything for the customer service agent. So the agent himself or herself can use the emotional intelligence, etc., to do the final finesse of preparing the response before sending it to the customer.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so finally then, towards the end of the book, you've got some futurism, looking forward and seeing what may happen once we reach this transhuman age. And one of the first things that you mentioned there was the ability to use telepathy. So what's that about? How are we going to start using telepathy in our enterprises?
A couple of years ago, when I started to research the whole topic of telepathy, I took it as a joke. It's not possible, right? Scientifically, it is not possible to create computers that will be helping people to telepathically transfer knowledge or data. But actually, already today, a couple of years ago, there was an experiment of two people being able to telepathically transfer word from one person to another. It was already done. It was incredibly inefficient. It took them many hours to transfer only one or two words, but it was done. So now it's up to the computers. Now it's up to the artificial intelligence and biotech to find out the way how to incredibly increase the capabilities of telepathical communication. And maybe in 5 or 10 years, we're going to see the first services that are able to take the knowledge we're having in our brains and send it to a computer and via the computer to a customer, a colleague of ours, without actually using the keyboard. And we're not as far from this future as many people might think.
Mm-hmm. So if that's the future for maybe a decade or more out, what would you say we should be expecting in the next couple of years then?
Hard to say, of course. However, we're seeing already that the capabilities of artificial intelligence when it comes to machine learning, object recognition, pattern recognition, emotion recognition is actually increasing every year quite a lot. So I believe that we're going to see in the upcoming years chatbots that are really able to provide such a great help in the customer service that will be almost indistinguishable from a customer service agent. And I believe there will be also a lot of technologies that will be superpowering actually the customer service agents in a way that today is unthinkable. And everyday agents today need to spend maybe 1 or 2 or 3 hours just searching for data and putting it together. I believe that in the upcoming maybe 5 to 10 years, maybe even less, we're going to see computers doing this work very efficiently for us.
Thanks for listening to the CX Files podcast. Please take a moment to review the podcast because this helps other listeners to find it. And if you have any suggestions, then get in touch with me on Twitter or LinkedIn. I'm @Mark Hillary with 2 L's, or just search Google for Mark Hillary.